Despite more EVs hitting the market, interest in going electric has actually dropped. That's according to a new AAA survey. It reveals a growing number of Americans are kind of hesitant to make the switch here. Joining us now is Adrienne Woodland from AAA to break down the numbers and what they mean for the future of electric vehicles. Adrienne, good to see you as always. Kind of give us a quick snapshot of what this new survey found.
Good morning. So AAA's latest electric vehicle survey shows that there's persistent consumer hesitation regarding fully electric vehicles.
Okay, and of course, interest in EVs kind of at the lowest point since 2019. What is the survey pointing to? Is there any reason behind that?
Well, one of the things it's pointing to is only about 16% of US adults report being very likely or likely to purchase a fully electric vehicle for their next vehicle. The number of consumers who say they're unlikely or very unlikely to purchase a fully electric vehicle rose from 51% to 63%. And some of the issues are the high battery costs for repairs, as well as the high purchase price, as well as range anxiety continues to be an issue for folks considering an electric vehicle.
Yeah, that's certainly range anxiety, is certainly one of the biggest things
Yeah.
that I've heard of when you're talking about the EV. You know, you think about having to charge it and then drive and then wait until it depletes your battery and then you have to kind of recharge it there. So I understand what they're saying, and I've actually heard that as a complaint as to why some people aren't going that way necessarily.
Absolutely. With having maybe fewer charging stations that people could see at very least at first glance, having range being an issue, having battery being an issue as well, and also just the sticker price initially. It sounds like there's definitely a lot of barriers that people have cited. Can you talk a little bit to how any of these have been addressed in the years recently?
So certainly we've had surveys over the year that, shows that range, anxiety, while it's a real issue, it's really not a big problem for electric vehicles. But public perception of EVs, it's shifted. The percentage of US drivers who believe most cars will be electric within the next decade has fallen from about 40% in 2022 to about 23% this year.
Wow, interesting numbers considering like we're not talking very long at all between these
Yeah.
surveys. You know, it seemed like it kind of, I won't say rapid, but it's happened very quickly where this public perception, according to your survey, has kind of dropped off here. Let's go back to the range anxiety because I think that is kind of a big deal. You know, is it more so of a lack of charging stations involved, or are there other reasons playing into the hesitation here?
Of course, charging stations are certainly an issue. I think there's anxiety on how far you can get, particularly when you're talking about like longer road trips and things like that. For hesitant consumers, hybrid or plug-in hybrid may be a smoother transition for those that are considering, an electric vehicle. These models ease range anxiety by combining the enjoyment of electric driving with the familiarity of gas-powered vehicles.
Yeah, I know some folks at our station here even have some of those hybrids where they can kind of
Yeah.
get a little longer on the 40-mile-an-hour range of that battery, and then the gas kind of kicks in, or whether it's above a certain speed limit or not. So I do think that's kind of a player as well in all of this as well.
Absolutely. Having range anxiety being such a sticking point for so many people when talking about electric vehicles. Can you speak a little bit as well to how many charging stations kind of there are right now? Or is there an abundance of them? Are they in short supply? And also, with this interest going down, do you think that that means that there might be less charging stations that could be newly built?
Charging stations have certainly grown over the last few years, so there are definitely a lot more available than say 5 years ago. As well as, AAA on our gas price website, we also talk about, the charging stations in terms of the pricing of charging stations. So that is definitely something that we have on our website that folks can check out. And AAA will continue to research EV adoption and address consumer concerns through surveys and insights.
Yeah, for those who may be considering going electric, you know, in that small percentage, according to your survey, what are kind of the main reasons that they're interested in going toward electric vehicles at this point?
Of course, definitely is the low, low cost of fuel and maintenance. That's definitely, a high percentage for those that are considering going electric.
Where do you see UVs heading in the future, considering that there's this lower interest, but of course, I'm sure that there's still quite a bit of development within the industry itself?
Yeah, the automobile industry, they continue to invest in electric vehicle technology. And in fact, the number of models over the years have grown. There are about 75 electric vehicle models that have been introduced in the last 4 years.
Yeah, I want to kind of give some folks at home a little bit of news you can use, if you will. I know that next weekend, and I know next week we're going to talk about gas prices with AAA with you, but also next weekend is the 4th of July holiday. And if you're hitting the road and you happen to have an EV or maybe you have a hybrid, you need to rely on that electric charging output there. Is there any resources that AAA has that people can take advantage of if they're looking to maybe make a longer road trip that's a little bit longer than that range to kind of keep their heads at ease as they make that road trip?
Yeah, certainly. We have plenty of resources. We have resources at gasprices.aaa.com, as well as electric vehicle resources at our website at aaa.com.
Yeah, of course. Let's talk about the maintenance costs of an electric vehicle. We were talking about kind of the battery repair and the sticker price seem to be major sticking points and maybe turning those statistics toward a downward trend. Has anything changed in recent years to address those concerns, or is it kind of just something that manufacturers are working to work through at this point?
Certainly during the survey, we found that respondents that are interested in EVs, they cite the gas savings, the sustainability side of it, and lower maintenance costs are some of their primary reasons for considering EVs. And so, EVs actually have the lowest maintenance costs among all vehicle types. So it definitely is something that saves you money. And it's definitely something that, again, is one of the high reasons for interest in electric vehicles.
Yeah, it's interesting too. It's kind of interesting that there are so many benefits, but also the numbers where they're at, according to this survey, kind of a stark contrast a little bit.
Absolutely. And when talking about repair costs and everything too, I feel like another issue that I hear a lot of people having is that they don't know who actually has those skills to be able to repair this new format, these EVs. Is there also a kind of skill shortage when it comes to people that can repair EVs, or is it not too different from an average car repair?
Again, there's so many. Again, we mentioned there's 75 different new models that came out. You definitely have those folks that can repair those models and can help with the maintenance. But again, maintenance for electric vehicles is very low.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we haven't asked you that you think is important? And when it comes to the survey, again, these numbers are very interesting to me because, we're in a world where we are kind of looking at more electric vehicle models coming out here. And then when you see the numbers, you kind of scratch your head a little bit because you would think that that number would be going in the correct direction of people switching from gas to electric, but it just doesn't seem like people are buying in.
Yeah, interest in fully electric vehicles, it has fluctuated over time. While the auto industry remains committed to long-term electrification and expanding model diversity, consumer hesitation, it continues to be a factor.
Yeah, another thing I want to ask you before we let you go, of course, back to that 4th of July road trip, are there any tips that AAA would recommend for those EV drivers or maybe even hybrid drivers that have that higher capacity battery out there if they're looking to take a road trip?
Definitely we have plenty of resources on our website. We have our annual AAA car guide. We also have your driving cost calculator. And, it really helps to, plan things like those road trips.
Okay, Adrienne Woodland with AAA. We appreciate your time as always. Again, I mentioned I did a little deep, very deep tease into the near future. We're going to
Yeah.
talk to Adrienne next week about the 4th of July gas price outlook as folks look to hit the road for that 4th of July weekend. Adrienne, we always appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me.
All right, 844, again, very interesting topic there. Interesting where the
Yeah.
numbers kind of lie.
It's incredible to see just how quickly this perspective has
Yeah.
shifted, because for so long there were so many people interested in this, and to hear that it's gone down so much, it's just interesting to hear all of the statistics behind it with this new survey, but also some of kind of those sticking points that Adrienne was mentioning there as well.
Yeah, again, the different factors involved. It'll be interesting over the next couple of years to see where that survey ends up, especially kind of as we continue there. Again,